Award-winning journalist Alan Cowell is joining me in studio. He has just released his latest novel, Permanent Removal, and he's here to tell us all about it. Hello.
Hi, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Well, it's such an honor to have an award-winning New York Times journalist in our studio, so thank you for making the time for us. Now tell me about your history with South Africa, because it's a very interesting one, and then we'll get into what we see in the book.
Sure. Well, I came to South Africa as the New York Times bureau chief in 1983. So all of this is a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And but I stayed for a little over 3 years before the government of the day required me to depart on January the 11th, 1987.
You say that in such a nice way. They
Well,
required you to depart.
Well, that's what happened,
Yeah.
and so I did depart. And there was a signboard I remember seeing on the way to the airport, which I still have a copy of. It was from the Citizen, and it said, "Evicted U.S. newsman was hostile," and that was never true. South Africa was a defining posting for me. I'd been many years living in Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. I'd traveled a lot in Africa. And we went on from here to live in Athens and Cairo, Rome, Germany, Paris, London. But South Africa was the defining posting for me.
How did that post and that experience shape you as a journalist and a person?
Well, I think it was a big challenge because if you work for, I've worked for Reuters before, I worked for the New York Times, and it's bred into you that objectivity is everything, and you have to stick to that. Your readers expect nothing less than that from you.
Right.
So you can't afford to be caught up in the emotion of the moment. But of course the events that I was covering were very emotional and very threatening for a lot of people and very decisive, and they were part of days that changed the destiny of South Africa.
When you think about those events you were covering, is there any one event that really still sticks in your head and really evokes emotion?
I think probably, and it's part of the origins of my book, it was the events in Cradock in 1985 when the Cradock Four were murdered. Their funeral was held. It attracted enormous crowds of people, and on that same day the state of emergency, the first state of emergency, was declared, which meant that the whole ground rules changed for people living in Cradock and many other townships, in all of South Africa in fact. And at that single moment began the loss of foreign investor confidence, and that, or it catalyzed it, and that then contributed to the rest was history.
Yeah.